why haven't the Cleveland media, right? Why haven't Browns media? Why are all these people who want to criticize Shedeur and speak about the competition that the Browns have one of the scariest tight ends in the NFL? I think it's a tight end room so scary, NFL don't want you to know about it because of a tight end room it could possibly resemble. Now, before we get into some statistics,
everybody is arguing about who should be QB1 in Cleveland, but the real danger might be sitting right in front of everybody. Because if Shedeur Sanders gets the keys to this Browns offense, he may not just be walking into a quarterback battle, he may be walking into one of the scariest tight end rooms in the entire NFL. And the crazy part is, Browns media has spent so much time talking about drama, Deion Sanders, Deshaun Watson, and pressure that almost nobody is actually talking about who Shedeur could be throwing the football to. That is what makes this whole situation so interesting, because when people talk about young quarterbacks, they always talk about arm strength, confidence, leadership, and whether they can handle the speed of the league. But sometimes the biggest thing that changes a young quarterback's career is simple. Who is open when the play breaks down? Who can win over the middle? Who can catch a ball in traffic when the pocket gets ugly? And for Shedeur Sanders, that answer might be Fannin Jr., Joe Royer, and maybe even Carson Ryan in a heavy, physical, tight end-driven offense.
After finishing as tight end 7 as a rookie, Fannin Jr. is going to be even better in 2026. I'm going to tell you why. Let's look back at what he did in his rookie season. He saw 108 targets and 72 catches. Those are both pretty good.
Fannin Jr. is not some random tight end people are trying to hype up for fun. This dude was historic at Bowling Green. He put up numbers that tight ends are not supposed to put up. We're talking 117 catches, 1,555 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns in college, while literally leading the nation in receptions and receiving yards. A tight end doing that is ridiculous. That is wide receiver 1 production from a position that usually gets treated like a safety blanket. And then he gets to Cleveland, and what happens? He keeps producing. As a rookie, he finishes with 72 catches, 731 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That is not normal rookie tight end production. Tight ends usually take time. They have to learn blocking, route timing, protection rules, spacing, and physicality. But Fannin came in and immediately looked like somebody who could be a real piece in the Browns' offense. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Fannin's ceiling changes completely if Shedeur is the quarterback, because the connection already looked different when Shedeur was throwing him the ball. It was not just random checkdowns. It felt like trust. It felt like Shedeur knew exactly where Fannin wanted the ball, and Fannin knew exactly when Shedeur was going to look for him. That matters, especially for a quarterback trying to survive in Cleveland. Because Cleveland is not an easy place to play quarterback. The fans are passionate, the pressure is heavy, and every mistake feels like it becomes a national debate. So if you are Shedeur Sanders, you need easy answers in the offense. You need throws that settle you down. You need a tight end who can run into space, box out defenders, and turn a simple completion into momentum. Fannin gives him that.
Joe has size, really good hands. He is a player that can produce both in the Y, which is kind of your traditional inline, role, and the F role, which is a little bit more of a receiving role.
But this is where it gets dangerous, because the Browns did not stop with Fannin. They added Joe Royer, and that is where the offense starts to look really scary. Fannin can move around like a big slot receiver. He can flex out, work against linebackers, attack the seam, and create mismatches. Royer brings more size, more traditional tight end ability, and a different body type. That gives Cleveland the chance to run 2 tight end sets without becoming predictable. That matters because 12 personnel is becoming a huge weapon in the modern NFL. 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and suddenly the defense has a problem. If they stay in base personnel, Fannin can cook a linebacker in space. If they go nickel, Royer can help block, and Cleveland can run the ball downhill. That is how you create stress. That is how you make the defense wrong before the snap. And that is why people are bringing up the old Patriots comparison. Now, nobody is saying Harold Fannin and Aaron Hernandez are already Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. Let's relax. But the idea is similar. 2 tight ends with different skill sets. 1 can move like a receiver, 1 can give you size and structure. Together, they force the defense to show its hand. And for a young quarterback, that's gold.
Why does it get dangerous? Because I want y'all to know that all of this don't happen unless Shedeur is the quarterback, because it's something specific. Because Shedeur and Harold Fannin already have a chemistry that...
Because Shedeur does not need the Browns to ask him to be Superman every snap. That is where young players usually make a mistake. They try to prove everybody wrong immediately. They start forcing throws, hunting highlights, and trying to win the press conference instead of just moving the chains. But if Cleveland builds this offense through tight ends, Shedeur can play smart, efficient football while still attacking defenses. Think about it. Jerry Jeudy can stretch and separate. The running backs can keep defenses honest. The offensive line can lean into physical football. But the tight ends can become the real identity. Fannin over the middle, Royer on play action, Carson Ryan as an H-back or fullback type. Suddenly, Cleveland can look old school and modern at the same time.
It'll be interesting to see what he can do, and then bringing Carson Ryan as sort of a backstop who's more in the Harold Fannin bucket. But nevertheless, I don't know that this position is solved necessarily. They may continue to look, but obviously they're going to want to get a look at Royer first to see what he can really do.
And Carson Ryan is an interesting piece too. He might not get the same hype as Fannin, but he gives the Browns flexibility. If he can play H-back, fullback, special teams, and move around the formation, that gives Todd Monken more ways to disguise plays. And Monken is the kind of coach who can use that. He likes physical football. He likes multiple tight ends. He likes making defenses think before the snap. That is why this is bigger than just Shedeur hath weapons. No, this could become an offensive identity. The Browns could become a team that beats you with size, spacing, and mismatch football. And if Shedeur is the quarterback, that might be exactly what he needs. Not a wide-open, chaotic offense where he has to throw 40 times every week, but a controlled offense where tight ends create safe throws and explosive chances. The scary part is that defenses may not know how to match it. If Fannin lines up in the slot, is a linebacker covering him? Good luck. If a safety comes down, now the Browns can run into lighter boxes. If Royer becomes reliable as a blocker and pass catcher, Cleveland can hide its intentions. And if Ryan can handle fullback H-back work, the Browns can get creative without changing personnel. That is how good offenses steal advantages. And for Shedeur, that could be the difference between looking like a rookie under pressure and looking like a quarterback in control. Because tight ends are a young quarterback's best friend. They win in the middle of the field. They create bigger targets. They help in the red zone. They protect you when the pocket gets messy, and they punish defenses for blitzing. So while everybody else is arguing about Shedeur Sanders, media drama, and quarterback politics, the Browns might quietly be building something dangerous. Harold Fannin Jr. already looks like a future star. Joe Royer could become the perfect second piece. Carson Ryan could be the dirty work weapon that makes the whole package function. And Shedeur Sanders might be the quarterback who benefits from all of it. Now the debate becomes simple. Are the Browns smart enough to lean into this setup? Because if they try to force a basic offense and ignore the tight end room, they are wasting one of their biggest advantages. But if Todd Monken builds around 12 personnel, play action, quick reads, and mismatches, Cleveland could suddenly become one of the toughest offenses to prepare for. And that is why this conversation matters. This is not just about Shedeur having targets. This is about whether Cleveland finally gives a young quarterback an offense that actually makes sense. Because if Fannin becomes the mismatch weapon, Royer becomes the second punch, and Ryan adds physical flexibility, Shedeur Sanders might walk into a setup that is way more dangerous than people realize. So the real question is not just about whether Shedeur can win the Browns' quarterback job. The real question is this: if he does win it, are we about to watch Cleveland build the NFL's next nightmare tight end offense? Because if Harold Fannin Jr. is already this good, and the Browns just added the right pieces around him, then defenses better pay attention now. By the time everybody else notices, Shedeur might already have the scariest tight end room in football.